Welcome back. Now, if you're just joining us, this is The Press. We're reaching you live from KAFTAN's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. So we'll go straight to our headline for this morning. I'm not analyzing the stories that we read out to you. We've got our guest here in the studio. He is a legal practitioner. He is Iheinseken Jnr, and he would help us to analyze on the story that we read out to you. It's great to have you on the show again, sir.
Good morning. Good morning.
You're welcome to the studio.
Good morning. Good morning.
All right, so let's get right on. Our phone lines are open. You can call in to make your contributions or ask your questions. Vanguard newspaper says, after May 29th, Niger Republic will defend me if, coming from President Muhammadu Buhari, and quite a lengthy riders to that story, says tells us why he deliberately shut the land borders. And then on the flip side, he says, adds that only God can secure Nigerian borders. And I'm just wondering why we have to call God in everything, even things that we can do ourselves. But then take a look at this one. It says Nigerians won't miss Buhari, coming from Afenifere. And it shows his non-committal to Nigeria. That's the statement of the Niger Republic will defend me, coming from MBF. That's a Middle Belt Forum. Buhari's statement validates earlier speculations of his ties with Niger Republic. Do you see that in any way?
Yes, it's very unfortunate that a president will be making such statements. You know, our joy is that he has a few days to leave now, so we can.
That's your joy.
Yes,
That's your joy, really?
Yes, he has a few days to leave now.
So your funny fairies that said they will not miss President Muhammadu Buhari.
I will not miss him.
Oh wow!
We've been here severally now. We do come here. Most times we're always in court against some of these draconian policies of this outgoing. Now we can hold every of these federal ministers, people who are at the federal level now, because when they leave this office, this power, this immunity some of them have will be taken out from them, and they will have to account for each of their actions.
So it means that some of the legal practitioners will just put their claws on them.
They should get ready.
Oh wow!
Because you just mentioned accounting for each of their actions.
Yes.
Do you, by any means, are you referring to part of the order that some of the notes should not be spent, while the Supreme Court had ordered that it should be spent during the cash crunch? Is that part of what?
Yeah, the cash crunch is no. I don't have the order was complied with. The cash crunch problem, it vanished away like a vapor. So that is not even. But there are a lot of. We have not forgotten about what happened in Lekki Toll Gate. There are a lot of. We can start naming them. More particularly this AGF who's about to leave office. We have a dossier of more than 500 judgments he has not complied with. We have some very damning allegations against him. Those things will be looked into. I was hearing Mr. Femi Alhassan, who was saying that he has actually brought together the civil society and they've compiled all the atrocious acts of the Attorney General. So it's you don't know how we Nigerians who have been on the edge. There are some persons who have practically run away from this country because of security and otherwise. So after this government that is leaving, even it's from the electionary time, you could know that we have two APC. We have the Tinubu APC and we have the APC inside the APC. So it's actually, yes, you could see some of his statements he was making. It was APC who went to the Supreme Court. It's an APC government who took the federal government APC to the Supreme Court.
So is that the reason why you think President Muhammadu Buhari is saying that his neighbors would protect him?
Right.
Okay, now Daily Sun puts it this way, explains why he appointed female finance minister, shut the country borders for long, and unfolds how Niger Republic others will defend him if Nigeria disturbs his peace.
Buhari made that statement?
Yes,
I don't want to believe he made that statement, because when statements like this are made, it's quite unfortunate. And I for one, I've been in Katsina for a while now. I've been for the last 2 months. I've been handling election tribunal over there. I've also heard stories, and practically someone even told me something which I can't even say on it. But I believe he's a Nigerian. I think. What I understand is that from that part he comes from, they kind of share border with Niger Republic, so it's easier for them to just transverse and come. The thing is, he's a Nigerian, and if there's any misgiving or there's anything anybody has against him, even filing of cases, they should go ahead. It's still, as far as we know, we had a Nigerian president in Muhammadu Buhari. So if anybody feel aggrieved, the statement that he's going to go to the Nigerian Republic, I think he's just trying to make a comedy show of, or trying to be funny, or trying to just make Nigerians laugh.
Probably unnecessarily funny.
Yes. He's a Nigerian, as far as we know.
Okay, so what about the perspective where others think that President Muhammadu Buhari is one of the best presidents that actually ruled? Because most times when people call in, they express themselves and be like, no, President Muhammadu Buhari has done a lot for Nigerians, and they'll begin to make speculations. So what if, when he leaves office, we begin to miss him the way people started missing former President Goodluck?
I don't think anybody in his sane character, in his real state of mind, we have anything to miss in President Muhammadu Buhari.
In your opinion, that's your personal
opinion. That is my own person. I feel 80% of Nigerians have gauged the mind of people. What is there to miss about this government? It's even a reprieve. It's even a joy and a delight. That's why I'm embracing this new government that is coming with the whole of my heart. I know.
Same party.
It doesn't matter. It might be a different individual with a different style.
We've gone this route before.
Something
else.
No, because see, there's no government. If we start going, probably we'll create a session whereby we'll go through everything that has happened in this last government. There'll be need for us to cry in a bucket of water. We've gone through the worst times of this world, and we are all praying. They should please, we wish them well. They should leave so that this new.
But then I understand what Olamide is trying to say, because now you have the presidential spokesperson said Nigerians will miss.
What I know.
Recall what happened during after Goodluck Jonathan left. A lot of people say, "Oh, thank God, let him just go."
We wanted to just
change.
Yes.
How the change came
what I know for once is that the Tinubu's government will be far 100% better than the Buhari's government, and I don't think they will make the same mistakes. This Buhari government, they made a lot of mistakes.
All right, let's quickly take this call. Hello, good morning. Alaba from Sokoto, it's great to hear from you. Let's go ahead.
I want to greet our teachers and our guests here. God will continue to enrich you because of you.
Amen.
Thank you.
So I want to just comment on some of the headlines of the newspaper.
Go ahead, please.
If the president is making such a kind of statement, this is not the first time he's coming with a kind of statement. That should suggest something to Nigeria. Why is it that it's the Nigerian Republic that come and between the Nigeria? It's a food production. Why is up? This country, I don't understand why we are doing this. And there is short border for a very long time. What effect does it have for Nigeria? We have bandits all around, we have Boko Haram, we have all of this, that. So what is the reason for placing borders? Just insisting on tourism and affection of Nigeria? Honestly, we will not miss this guy, because if a government that is okay, that has correct brain, comes on board, we will remember, we will make choices to him, because this value of this kind of government is the worst that has happened to this country. So we have no regret that they should go away. We will listen to what is this to us.
Okay. Thank you.
God bless Nigeria, Jesus name.
God bless you too.
Apparently, you're speaking their minds.
No, I'm speaking. Some of these people. Thank God we are not going into some very sensitive issue. Labour Party. We are what the ordinary Nigeria. You know, my job is that I'm not afraid that anything I'm coming to say at this studio, I'll be called down by the DSS.
I was going to say that, but recall that the DSS said you must not say anything negative about the outgoing or the incoming government.
No. There is everything positive to talk about this next government that is coming.
You never know.
It will be good. I'm assuring you that. I've spoken with some of them, and I think they want to change the narrative.
Okay, but now talking about changing the narrative.
Let's quickly take this call before you go ahead. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, beautiful morning to you, Annabel and then Alhassan. You are on to SMG from Lagos.
SMG from Lagos. Great to hear from you. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Good morning, sir. Thank you very much for your analysis. Let me begin by this Hausa proverb that says, "Wani yayi rawa ya samu kuɗi, wani yayi rawa sai ya samu bugu." Ma'ana, meaning, when somebody dance and benefit from the dance, somebody will come and dance and he will get the beating of his life. That is the beauty of democracy. Everybody has his own opinion. But to my own understanding, yes, of course, we have so many things working on ground. What the government, the performance of the government. But to me, it's too early for us to assess the government and credit the government either good, bad, or ugly. Remember, each and every administration has the good, the bad, and the ugly. So the only thing is to do the comparative analysis to see which one is going to get the giant mark and so on and so forth. But believe me, so many things go wrong, whereby a leader cannot call his directors or MDs to order. Remember, there are so many allegations from NPA boss. That was long ago. The transport minister, the humanitarian minister, and so on and so forth. You understand? So these are some agencies that one will look and assess the credibility of the government. That is why I say it's too early. And then secondly, sometimes our president used to be in a line of caricature people, whereby he will say something, but internally that is not what he means. But even before now, I heard Mr. President mentioning about going to Niger or something of that nature. So probably, maybe that is his intention. Remember, there is one of our United Nations Secretary who he said he prepared to sit in Nigeria when he retired on his work and so on and so forth. So that is their opinion. But the issue is, let us pray for this government not to make the same mistake that because they are in the same party, they are in the same platform, they are in the same everything. So let us pray for them not to at least go into the same mistake that the previous government did, because we are hoping for better Nigeria. Thank you very much. I remain SNG from Lagos, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, SNG from Lagos. Very absolutely spot on. Great.
Absolutely. Now, talking about narratives, changing narratives and all of that, I think I read on one of the headlines that security operatives have warned that if you don't have any business around the Eagle Square, you shouldn't be there. In fact, movements are going to be restricted from Friday. I think I have it here. It says security agencies to restrict movement to Eagle Square beginning from Friday. So if you're trying to change narratives and you're a democratically elected president, why should those that have elected you, why should they be barred from being at your inauguration?
Which is like a carnival.
Yes.
This is a very sensitive period. I'm not actually, people, when I tend to talk about this, I want to say that I'm not a member of APC. I'm not even an ally of this present administration that is coming. But I feel there's an energy. I feel that there's something a little bit positive from there, because the sword of Damascus is hanging on their neck, and they're actually on a spree of trying to engage in reconciliation. And so I feel for certain security reasons, more particularly some persons in some places have raised allegations and raised insinuations as to interim government, which some of us have come out to deprecate and condemn. It is unfounded in our jurisprudence. It is unfounded in our precedent. And so there is need for the security agencies to be up and doing. This is a new government that is coming in. We understand that the elections that were conducted by INEC were actually flawed. And the accusations trading here and there, there are ongoing election tribunal matters, presidential election tribunal matters that are ongoing. So when you put all this together, this is a very sensitive period. And for us to move on, it's not just only obtainable in Nigeria. Anywhere, any place, something like this come up, there's a very high security alert. So I think the security agencies, they are not utterly out of place, considering persons have been coming out to try to instigate problems. So I think what the modalities and what they've actually put in place is to actually check incidences as to insurrection and otherwise. Okay. So what I think should happen is, let's allow the security agencies to do their work. Nothing should stop the swearing in of the president-elect. Let him come into office, then we can move on from there without prejudice to the ongoing election tribunal cases and whatever the outcome will be. Okay, so the securities, they are right to do what presently they are doing.
We'll take the election tribunal cases later on. Let's quickly take this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello?
Good morning, sir.
Is that KAFTAN TV?
Yes, it is. Tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Yeah, Samuel from Oyo State.
Samuel from Oyo State. Go ahead. You have 60 seconds. Turn down the volume of your TV set first.
Mr. Samuel wants to speak with us.
I will
and
have to
hear
let you
himself.
go. So please, when you call back, turn down the volume of your TV set or move away from it. All right. So now let's take Daily Trust. Says ministers hand over ahead of cabinet dissolution. And the writer says Pamfami's belongings moved out of ministry. FCT ministers orders more demolitions. Aviation ministry appoint 20 new directors. Sadia in project commissioning galore. FEC in marathon meeting, like everybody wants to do everything at the same time immediately in the next 5 days. But then on the flip side, you have second Niger bridge commissioned, renamed after Buhari. We've seen a lot of hue and cry in that regard, and then tensions are still trailing, reactions rather are still trailing in that regard. What are your thoughts?
It's actually fine. It's actually good. It's actually innovative. But I don't see the need for appointment of directors or ministers at the tail end of this. It's needless. To what extent? What does it tend to achieve? As in, what will they do? Because I'm very sure the new government that is coming, I'm very sure they are going to dissolve a lot of the cabinet, to be dissolved, parastatals accounts
Because
to
he
be
must
frozen.
have his own team.
Its own team. And some of us, we're also there to support the new administration to succeed. We are not going to really come out the way we believe. Let's start afresh and let's fix Nigeria.
So much expectation sometimes.
I'm so positive. See, there is no government you can use to compare this outgoing government. If we start from the very start and we want to list up some of the, there is no government that has ever been in Nigeria that can be. This government, they made the naira at 200 and something naira to $1, but they are living now with almost 750 at the black market rate, or 800. What can be as worse as that? The poverty rate is alarming. Security, I don't know. The Nigeria is more polarized and more divided than ever. So, and more importantly, our brothers in the East, there is an agitation there going on. And, this issue as to Kanu Namdi, we want to appeal to the incoming government. They should look at this issue properly and see whether he can have a soft landing. He can be granted amnesty, a kind of a pardon, anything, so that some of these things, they can just go off and we can start afresh.
All right. Because you're a legal practitioner, I wanted to find out, how long does it take to actually file a case and get to have the hearing?
Is it at the election tribunal?
No. Before we talk about election tribunal, I think
there's no Nigerian judiciary, with all due respect to them, it's a developing institution. There's no fixed time. But with new practice direction mechanisms, it's not actually front-loading system they've introduced into different court rules. It's very far. But in election proceedings, it must be concluded within 180 days. If it goes on appeal to the Court of Appeal, it must be concluded within 60 days. Parties at the election tribunal has 21 days to file their petitions. 180 for a full trial with 3 panel of judges at the tribunal level. Then they have 60 days if there's any appeal by the aggrieved party.
That's
to put in an appeal. Yes, then 21. If just in case, then after the declaration of results, the person has 21 days to file his petition. That is, the court has introduced it to be the 21 days is not counted. It's inside the 180 days. So I feel the relief and the roadmap, the election tribunal, the electoral act, I feel it can be transferred to other conventional civil cases, so that we can have, because I've never seen, although I don't think we are up to that stage yet. I've never seen, because I'm involved in some, so I've never seen it so brilliant and so fast that everybody is up and doing. And so I wish it can be tried, but I think our stakeholders at the profession subsequently they know what to do best.
Then this frequent adjournment, isn't it?
It doesn't come into election tribunal.
The 180 days.
It doesn't affect the election tribunal.
Okay.
At all. It does not affect it. The only thing is just a little glitch, and this a day or two might just be even before the 180 days. 180 days is like September when you calculate from when most of these elections were conducted. So even by like the presidential election, I saw the pre-trial schedule. They are supposed to file written address by August. So before the first week of September, or even before August, and the tribunal, the presidential election tribunal would have delivered their judgment. This is a very beautiful, innovative, and I wish it can be transmuted to other sphere of the judiciary and the legal profession.
All right. Another question in that regard. I saw this headline that says Presidential Election Petition Court merges APM Atiku Obi's petition. Why do they have to be merged if they came separately?
It is the rationale, it is the explanation, it is the reasoning of the court. I think because what they are pursuing is one thing: either notification of the results, a rerun, or declaration of parties who have been able to prove their case at the election tribunal. In order for it to be coherent, for it to be fast-tracked, I think that is the rationale for the court actually consolidating. And mind you, it was not contested by some of these parties, but instead it was contested by the APC, probably for whatever reasons, and some of these technicalities that will be brought in, I think it will be resolved to the barest minimum. So it's actually a welcome idea by the election tribunal, and I think I'm satisfied with their ruling on that aspect.
Now you say you're satisfied. I'm going to ask you.
Yes.
You talked about in everything we're looking for to either a rerun, or you're looking for declaration of parties, probably the aggrieved ones, and so. Now, if you're taking a cue from all that happened during the Lawan Machina's case that was taken to the Supreme Court, and then you talk about the Senator Godswill Akpabio's case, and then some people will tell you that yes, we know that we hear that it's written that the judiciary is the last hope of the common man. But if you have to take a cue from that, do you really see all of this election tribunal go well? And then
the Lawa versus Machina case actually brought a new innovation, in the sense that more particularly, I think the courts will build up from there, more particularly the Federal High Court, because there was a practice direction by the Federal High Court that pre-election matters at the Federal High Court will be concluded within a particular certain period, I think 180 days or so. And so it must be commenced by origin summons. But the Supreme Court said no, that for contentious matter that has to do with some allegations of criminality like that, it has to come by writ of summons. And accordingly, the judgment from the Federal High Court was set aside, and Lawa had the capacity, or had the room to actually run as a senator from Yobe State. And so I don't think that's judgment should be criticized a lot.
Really?
Yes, it should not be criticized a lot.
Why not?
Yeah, because it's actually coming from the Supreme Court. You know, that is the last.
Because it is coming from the Supreme Court?
Yes, it is infallible.
How about the Senator Godswill Akpabio?
Did you just say it's infallible?
Yes.
Why? Why is it infallible?
Yes, that is what they've said. After them is the God in our heavens you can never appeal to. So it's the last court to decide the finality of legal issues in Nigeria. So me particularly, as I was called to bar as a solicitor and advocate of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, I have so much respect for the Supreme Court. Wherever the rationale they have used, more importantly too, you know, it was this same Supreme Court in Buhari versus Obasanjo who actually pronounced that the interpretation of that judgment is that there must be 25% of the two-thirds, more particularly in the FCT. The Supreme Court pronounced on that. So, and this same trending issue as to whether the president-elect actually scored the two-thirds is going again to the Supreme Court. We hope to see the interpretation. So I discourage every lawyer or every practitioner or everybody who's following the judiciary to stop criticizing the Supreme Court. Most of the things they do it out of their own
What if you were
reasons.
wearing these shoes? Would you still say it is infallible?
It's infallible still. I still insist it's infallible because of there's what we call the traditional practice of the bar. So one of the traditional practice of the bar is to always accord supreme respect to the Supreme Court.
I'm beginning to wonder how this traditional aspect of the bar is being, handled.
Especially when people feel... as I said before, our system, whether judicial, is a developing institution. We cannot, I've always been positive about what will happen at this election tribunal, and I feel for anybody aggrieved, they should do their best to present their case well. Okay. I see justice coming for anybody if they are able to prove their case. In the course of other programs, I've given my analysis as to the petition filed by parties, and that is a clue as to what will actually happen. But I also sincerely believe that the Supreme Court judgment on Machina and Lawa was reached as to, for me, I particularly, I will not, from my experience, I don't see anything so wrong with the Supreme Court on that judgment. Okay. Because if they have gone otherwise, I would have had some questions, because you cannot actually challenge or raise issues as to allegations of forgery, criminality. True, is a procedure trying to resist summons. It cannot be proved. It has to be by writ of summons. So I think, in part, and to some extent, I agree with that Supreme Court judgment.
All right. A quick question as to the live transmission of the tribunal case. So why was it ruled out?
Okay. The Supreme Court said the Court of Appeal said at their level is actually a policy decision. Is actually none of the parties is a policy maker before the election tribunal, and it has to do with a direction of how the judiciary should go. And also they're also trying to be very careful, because if they rule, it becomes a precedent. That means for other sensitive matters like terrorism, that means lawyers, yes, the lower courts are bound to follow this, which might not augur well for our judiciary.
Why will it not augur well for
also
judiciary?
You can also not stop some of these journalists from going to that place. Some of their brains are like computers. They can just hold their pen like this and everything is on their head. Some of them are taking notes. Specific language is used. Some of these journalists are also practicing lawyers too, and they will be inside rope. So I don't feel, although unconventionally now is no longer allowed. I don't know if you're getting it, but I don't feel this should be any issue. Okay. Everybody have a chance. What is happening at the tribunal will still be reported invariably, but what they are saying is that it should not be televised. So I don't have a problem with the Court of Appeal ruling on that. It doesn't go, more particularly for some of us who have actually been a friend and who defended the press. I don't think that thing goes against press freedom, no, or the right to Nigeria to access information, wherever language anybody is saying. I feel it's actually a direction, it's a policy direction, as the Court of Appeal said, and I don't disagree less with them.
So that means we can't have press recordings while the tribunal...
It can be done after the sitting. It can be done after the sitting. But I know press for sure that they have their people inside that will still record the proceedings. Might not be with instrument. They have their pens and paper. The beauty or the strongest point of a journalist is his pen and paper.
Absolutely true.
Okay, so now I've heard some, before we let this topic go, now I've heard some representatives saying that it will create some kind of distraction in the court, and then I hear you say that it will not augur well for our democracy, for our judiciary rather. Why so?
In terms of precedent, because this incoming government, they're going to be an avalanche of cases. Yes, there are going to be new grounds to be tested. More particularly, some of the acts and directions and policy making of this last government, it will be challenged in this dispensation. People who were scared to actually challenge areas they were aggrieved. So it's actually, and for a jurisprudence that is still growing, I feel the issue as to televised coverage of court proceedings, I don't think Nigeria is yet too mature for that.
But other African countries are?
Very few.
Kenya is?
Very sensitive matters like the presidential tribunal. And their own kind of jurisprudence is not as contentious as we have in Nigeria. We have the last election whereby I think we have more than 20 presidential candidates contesting election. But Kenya is not like that. And it's a very small region. If you have been to Kenya, a very small country. So Nigeria the truth about Nigeria is that accurate data, if you reach accurate, Nigeria is more bigger in population than the US. We have not done accurate census like the way US are doing. If we do, I'm very, very sure Nigeria is up to the range of 300 million and more than. So for a country as large as that, a country as so sensitive as that, a country that has so many dimensions, wherever diverse opinions, diverse means, diverse ways, diverse culture, diverse decision, diverse criticism, to televise a presidential proceedings, I don't know how it's going to go well.
All right, so let's take this last one before we finally let you go. UK bars Nigerian students, others from traveling with family. That's one on the side. I'm going to ask you 2 questions, and I'd like you to unbundle them in one breath. So now that's one. And then secondly, on the Daily Sun says Biden sends 9-man delegation for Tinubu's inauguration. UK Prime Minister Tony Blair visits President-elect. Now my question for that one is, why do we have to put it on the headline? Why do if they didn't if Joe Biden is not coming by himself, if Kamala Harris is not coming by herself, why are we so why the pomp and pageantry about it? Why the fuss?
The thing is, there may be an underhand things, you know.
Yeah.
Candidates at this level, they have their PRO team. They have a way of actually reaching out to the press to put out this thing so that inclusion, acceptance, it might give that correlation. And more importantly, we are actually, I don't know why you guys are not hopeful of this government. I'm so I know in your mind you are thinking, this lawyer has been brought up. This is not the lawyer we used to know. But then you see, funny enough, I did not even support this, but I've watched them. So, you know, as I said before, the sword of Dabako, this government will work. I can assure you.
But the truth is that it's our job to actually ensure that they work. So we shouldn't just be excited. We have to see them do.
They will do it. I can believe with what they have said. I think they have a social contract with the Nigerian people.
Okay, so let's touch on that.
And more importantly, these two factions of this government, they've dragged themselves to the Supreme Court on the Naira crunch. That will show that in 2 fights there must be something beautiful coming out.
Okay, I have a question on that one, but let's quickly touch on it in 1 minute if you can help us. UK bars Nigerian students, even despite the fact that them coming there, that's more currency for them, that's more FX for them. So why? You
know, as I was talking with someone before I came into the studio from UK this morning, and this issue as to Jackpot syndrome, we need to address it. We have gotten to a point whereby we are not supposed to play second fiddle. Nigeria is blessed with a lot of things beyond what the UK has. Some of us have been there before, and what we have is just a failed leadership. And you could tend to undermine and tend to not actually insult us, but their actions, their policy actions, their foreign alignment, it seems not to. Me personally, I do not agree with it. These are people who are coming to school in your terrain. They should enjoy the same benefit your citizens are also enjoying. They have not committed crime. So I don't think making harsh policies like this just because of an interview, a very unfortunate interview granted to a Nigerian or anyone, will lead to a policy change.
So do you think that this will increase racial discrimination?
Yes, it's already, for me, the policy they've made is, in my own view, is even discriminatory.
Because you have Indians also.
Because if I was there, if I was even at the UK at present, I would challenge this action by the UK government. It's actually, it does not talk about them in good light. These people are bringing foreign exchange into your country. They are bringing manpower, they are bringing skill, they are bringing a lot of things to, and you are discriminating against them. Are you more better than other countries who accept these people with a whole heart? So it's not really fair of them. And if that is it, Nigerians will also implement their policies.
Exactly my point. Because away from the UK government, shouldn't we do something to stop up the ladder?
Nigeria did that when there was this airline contention with the UAE. then.
Yes,
And it went a great way to actually cut it. Nobody's an ally of his own.
True.
The same way UK is a very powerful and sovereign country. Nigeria is a beautiful and is one of the most strongest country on earth. I am telling you, it's a country we should be proud of. I've traveled
goodwill.
Yes, I've traveled otherwise. I've traveled not less than 20 countries, and I can categorically tell you the only problem we have is bad leadership. We have some of the brightest and best brains anywhere you can find.
I agree.
And we can see you so optimistic that a better leadership is coming in.
I don't. Probably this leadership will bet to the best of leadership, but I feel. Because the sword of Damascus is on the head of this government.
Okay,
I think
you said like that. Like
yes, I don't think.
Times.
Yeah, I don't think they will fail.
Okay,
because the one who are beat, you know, the beauty is when you overperform, the cries, the village people will no longer cry again.
Now, for your choice of word, you don't think, think.
Yes.
Now is saying we shouldn't hold you in case.
Yes.
Because
at this moment.
You're not saying you know they won't fail. You're saying you don't think.
No, I don't think they'll fail, because with what is going on, with accusations trading about, with the height of what the opposition is actually up to, I think for the first time we will see the government that is accountable. And most particularly now, power is coming to the south.
All right, our time is fast spent, but if you can help us, 1 minute, because you talked about the cash swap, and then we saw a headline saying that the CBN governor is asking for leave, study leave, and then you have the Governor Matawale who said that he should not be granted such leave, and then all of a sudden, immediately, the EFCC came out to say, okay, you have a case with us, so just keep coming down. What are your thoughts on all of this?
These things are funny. I saw the rat accusing the cat of eating the milk, drinking the milk. It's too shameful. It's just too pathetic of these two, the government of Zamfara State and more particularly Zamfara State. We are one of the initiating parties who took the matter up with the CBN and the federal government to the Supreme Court, and he did not return into office. And so it tells you that there's a political angle to some of these things. However, for the CBN governor, before now, I don't have confidence in him. And considering what has happened in Nigeria, the rate of our economy, the naira to the dollar and pounds, I feel, and some other allegations we've been hearing, I feel he has a lot of questions to answer. This is not the time for him to go on any study leave. If he wanted to go on any study leave, he would have gone since it's in the heat of his administration. So he should be made to our account. I urge the new government, which I know they will do. I'm optimistic of that. I urge the new government to create a panel. He must answer questions as to the state of Nigeria economy. We don't want to say some certain things. To what extent was the cash crunch? To what benefit was it on Nigeria? Have you seen the new mayor in our economy again? There are questions this CBN governor should answer, and he must answer. So I urge the security agencies to be red alert. Anywhere he wants to run to, they must bring him back to answer for everything he has.
Thank you so much.
In his own estimation, just 10 seconds, he knows he has done very well. He must come and explain to Nigeria all the tremendous things he has done. I will be happy to hear. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Samuel Iheinseken Jnr. It's been a pleasure having this discussion with you.
Thank you very much.